Alrighty guys, welcome back to the Combustion Gamer YouTube channel and NASCAR Heat 5 Florida Racing. And so we're back here in the Xfinity series for the Chicagoland Speedway. So obviously, as you might know if you watched the video previous to this, we lost all of our audio from this video. So we're now going through and having to react to what we did. So one thing is that we did have money in the bank. And so while we're not totally wanting to spend a whole lot of money on the Xfinity series, as in the next season we're going to be putting all that money into the Cup series, one thing that we did need, so obviously we're not buying a car, we did need some suspension work. So ultimately we went and bought ourselves a suspension upgrade, which actually gave us a 95 car for Chicagoland. So the suspension ended up playing a very huge role in this race, and definitely was worth the money overall once we got that on the track. So definitely a good result, all things considered. But anyways, let's head to the race and let's start reacting to what we had going on throughout this very interesting and yeah, you're going to see a race at Xfinity. Alright guys, as we're heading into the race here, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button, and if you guys want to help out the channel financially, you can do so over on the Ko-Fi page and can just buy me a coffee, or you could even do it monthly and support the channel that way. Also, if you guys are interested, someone did mention that they would like to see some Florida racing merch. If you guys are interested in that, let me know in the comments below and we'll see what we can do about that. But anyways, let's get into the reaction on this race. Alright guys, so one thing that was interesting about this race is that we had the Ross Chastain, Chase Briscoe, Austin Cindric, and one other car that were just swapping back and forth in the lead quite a bit. But one thing that I noticed right off the bat in this race is that the car seemed to handle a lot better than it had previously, and part of that was just probably the momentum from a really good Truck Series race, which it was really good. If you haven't seen that reaction video, go back and watch that, because that was really good on that video. But yeah, it was pretty interesting getting started. The car felt a lot smoother, felt like it was handling the track a lot better, but also, once again, as I said, just it's a fun track, so made for interesting racing overall. So we got started here, everybody started sorting each other out. And one thing that started to pop up throughout the rest of this race is you can also see the 20 car there from Joe Gibbs leading the race here. That was the other guy that was really up there quite a bit as well. The cars were very swirly. We ended up having quite a few cautions throughout, so made things interesting, that's for sure. So we ended up having a caution in stage 1, which ultimately allowed me to go top off on fuel, and then when we came down to stage 2, the stage 2 restart, I had already gotten myself the majority of the fuel that I needed, plus also a fairly fresh set of tires. That allowed me to be able to jump up into the front and start stage 2 from the lead position. And so that's where we started right there, but you can basically see everybody hanging on to me pretty tightly throughout the restart. Austin Cindric back there, the Ford Performance teammate, he ended up getting pretty fast. So I was like, oh, let's let you go. Don't want to hold up a Ford teammate, and so he ended up getting past there pretty quick. And then I also realized, like, hey, I can go down here onto the flat side of the track and get a little bit of a speed boost there, cut the track off a little bit. And so I realized that as a potential right there on this particular restart. And so things started getting really interesting. Right behind me there is Alex Labbe. He's actually pushing me. And I was like, oh wow, that's kind of interesting. This is something that I hadn't had at most tracks, is a car pushing me. And then Alex Labbe decides to push me right into the wall here. And so that ends up getting me loose. That ends up sending me around along with Ryan Sieg and the whole field here. Just huge wreck. And that would not be the last time we would have a bump in with Alex Labbe, unfortunately. But yeah, that ended up being a pretty bad wreck, and I think we went ahead and pitted there. But it was like I don't know what he was doing, honestly. It's just, you didn't need to be pushing me into the wall. And so I think I ended up going on a bit of a tirade of him needing to apologize by getting me out of guard. I think was the basic conversation that I had from then on, was just like, hey dude, you still need to buy me Olive Garden, you need to give me some 5G Ziti. And so that's what I kind of went off on. I also thought about it, well, maybe you can offer me some Whataburger as well, as the Whataburger car was right there. And so that made for some interesting content going back and forth, as I ended up racing him a little bit later. Luckily, nothing else really happened throughout the rest of that stage, and then we came into stage 3, and I think that's basically where everything kind of ended up breaking loose, is right around here. But luckily, with pit strategy and everything, able to get back up into the top 5 for our restart. I obviously had righty hips up here. We had the Ford duo of Cindric and Briscoe, and we even had Noah Gregson up there as well, doing a pretty good job. And so, really, the car didn't really have the speed to be up this far into the pack, unfortunately. Really did not end up having the speed that really made it deserve a top 10 finish. And so definitely one of the things I realized, I can maybe get another engine upgrade as well. Not spending money on a $2 million car, but maybe get some engine upgrades to hopefully help us out for the rest of the season, was the ultimate realization later on. But yeah, cars were loose all throughout this Xfinity race. There was quite a lot of spinning. And one thing that I had to watch out for is that my car liked to ride up in the turn, just with somehow with the setup. I think it was a little bit on the tight side. It just really wanted to ride up the turn and go up against anybody that was beside me. And so that made things rather exciting when having to see, like, oh, is somebody next to me, is somebody not next to me? And so that was something that I had to go through the entire race. And so that was pretty interesting. All the way throughout. But also Ross Chastain extremely fast throughout this race as well, constantly up here in the top 10, and you just see him starting to pass me here, but extremely fast in that number 10 car there, and made a really good showing, all things considered, in this particular race. Later on into the run, we have ourselves Alex Labbe coming up right behind us, and apparently he wants to be our drafting buddy. Somehow, with all that damage he'd already gotten in wrecks and stuff, somehow he's still running up here in the top 10. I'm not sure how he's doing that. But so he decides to stop pushing me and like, get away from me, get away from me, get away from me. It's just my overall thought. And then he still comes up and tries to push me in the turn, and that just ends up kind of sending me up and stuff. It's just like, get away from me there. And so that ended up being something that continued on there throughout the rest. It was just like, hey, just get away from me, man. Then we had, later on here, we had Alex Bay actually try to pass us here. And so we actually ended up getting pushed here from Michael Nett. That actually kind of sent us up a little bit. And that kind of ultimately led me to like going ahead and taking out Alex Bay there. Because I was like, hey, okay, I'm already hit you. You're already loose. I'm going to go ahead and take you out here. And that actually led into a pretty good moment to be able to come down pit road and go ahead and pit here, which I'm not sure how that played out in the end of the race, as I think there was a few of these that happened. But ultimately we ended up 4th. You see Chase Briscoe, Joe Graff Jr., all those guys up here. So somehow we were still, with the pit cycle, we were still staying up in the top 10, even though we really weren't a top 10 performing car. We somehow continued to stay up there. Even though we really weren't that good performance-wise. And so the race continued on. It seemed to be pretty interesting on our side when we came to down just the performance. We continued to be up there. Once again, later into the run, Alex Labbe, once again, for whatever reason, behind us, pushing us hard. As I get away from me, I was continually saying that for the majority of this race, because it's like he just continued to pop up, continued to push me hard, and just continued to get me loose. And it was just like, just get away from me. It's like he just continued to come up and try to push me, and it was very, very irritating. He hits me into the wall, and so I just dive down into the grass, and I just stay there for the majority, because I'm like, I'm done. I want to get away from you. Just please get away from me. And then ultimately had these cars, like that's Josh Balicki and stuff. He got loose in the turn. That ended up causing another caution, which led us into what I believe is the final restart here. But yeah, so there we go. So pit strategy once again at play. I think we came down, took right side tires, perhaps. We'll see what we ended up doing. We hadn't fixed damage. Went ahead and took 4 tires as well. Okay. So I think that was another race. We did two tires. And then, of course, we did all that, and we had to start next to Alex Labbe. It's like the first thing that I was saying is like, no, we got to get away from that guy. And so I'm just like, yeah, I pretty, as fast as I can, I'm trying to get down low here. Just trying to get away from him as much as I can, because like I just do not want to be around this guy, as he has continuously wrecked me throughout the majority of the race. And it was just like that wasn't good. And then also too, we had a rival here, Kobe Howard, who had sent us around several times as well. And so it was just and you see right there, XB tried to become my draft buddy. He's like, no, I'm getting out of here. So yeah, I was just trying to get away from that guy for the majority of this race. Honestly, is really what happened. It was just like Alex Labbe is just, he ended up causing all kinds of stuff in this race, and it was just like, please get me away from him. And I think this is 4 laps to go in the actual race itself. And I mean, we actually have speed. I mean, I have 4 brand new tires, and the car is actually handling at this point really, really good. And it seems like we have a little bit more speed than we had in previous restarts. So that was pretty interesting, as we're just trying to scramble to get these positions here and try to get into the top 10. But the majority of that was just trying to get as much speed as possible and just to get away from that XB. That was the main force behind our speed, was that we just got to get away from that guy. Is ultimately what we were trying to do. And so once we got past our guy here, we were in the top 10. I think that took a little bit here because he was pretty fast, but ultimately into this turn, I think we ended up getting past him, got a little bit on the curve there. And so just really tried to get up there and finally kind of solidified right there is that we got our top 10. And then 2 laps to go, and we're trying to get past, we're able to get past Gregson right there. I think we ended up getting past Brandon Brown here also, but just trying to get as many of these positions as possible. So I'm not totally sure what the strategy was of the AI, whether they took if they took 4 tires or if they only took 2. I'm not totally sure what it was, but definitely for some reason we seem to have more speed here on this restart than we had previously. So I'm not totally sure ultimately what that was, but it seems like perhaps taking 4 tires ultimately gave us a little bit of an advantage when it came to the racing. And obviously right there got 8, and very happy with that. It kind of seemed like we could get Brandon Jones, but then I was like, we're fine with 8. And so it just kept racing, trying to keep Timmy Hill back there behind us. And then suddenly Brandon Brown starts smoking, and it's like, ooh, we can get another point. And then of course NASCAR, which didn't bring out the caution for when there was a slow truck in the Truck Series race, smoking. He actually checked up the leader during the race. Couldn't bring out a caution, but they brought out a caution for a car that was just smoking that ended up costing us a position. So that was like, oh man, seriously? But anyways, that was a pretty fun race, and ultimately at that point I was just glad to be away from Alex Labbe for a while, because it was like, yeah, I don't want to race with you anymore. And so that was a fun race for sure. So here we are with the race results. Austin Cindric able to get the win. Ross Chastain, Chase Briscoe able to get the stage wins. Ryan C., Justin Haley, Michael Nett, Brandon Jones, Harrison Burton, Brandon Brown, and of course myself, all in the top 10. So that ended up being a very interesting finish there. But obviously Austin Cindric, Chase Briscoe, the dynamic Ford performance duo, always up there in the top. And so they did a lot of that stuff up there. And then once again, $107,000. Once again, I think this was the video that I actually took a look at the merch. I was like, let's take a look at that merch payout there, and so that ended up pretty interesting how much that was. But that ended up being quite a nice payout there for the Xfinity race, for sure. And then here we are in the point standings. Obviously 1 win and 5 playoff points, and Austin Cindric had the fastest lap. He also had the most laps led at 22, so good job for him. And I think we had, what else did we had? Obviously us on the move from 33rd to 8th, so that ended up being a great day for us in Xfinity. And then Jeffrey Earnhardt went from 8th to 36th, so definitely a bad day for him. But it was a fun race, and I wish I had the original audio once again for that, but ultimately that's gone, so I can't ever really recreate that. But it was a fun race, and honestly, I am still glad that I'm away from Alex Labbe right now, because that was annoying. He just continued to do that over and over again, and it was just very annoying throughout this race that he was doing that. So anyways, guys, that is the video for today. Hopefully you guys have liked this content. Hopefully this reaction highlight reel of the race is a good replacement for obviously not having the original audio, and hopefully you guys enjoyed it. hopefully, you guys have already hit the like and subscribe button, and if you guys haven't done so, you can check out the merch shop for the Combustion Guys YouTube channel. That is up, so you can head over to that YouTube channel and find the store up and running right now. We got some cool designs in the work that are going to be popping up on there hopefully sometime this year, but currently we just have the store logo merchandise, and then we also have the original Combustion Guys logo as on merchandise as well. So you can check that out over on the Combustion Guys YouTube channel. Plus, also, you should be able to go over there and check out my 24-hour vlog, more like a sights and sounds of the Rolex, but that was a fun video, so you can check that out over there, and that was certainly cool to see. A lot of cool cars, a lot of cool racing, and then the spin, I think, ended up 36 hours at Daytona itself was a fun experience. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Hit that like and subscribe button, and we'll see you guys here next time on the Combustion Gamer YouTube channel and NASCAR Heat 5 Florida Racing. Bye-bye.